Profit is sanity and cash is king. Have you said that before, or maybe you've heard that said to you? Is it true though? We often spout these sayings out, but is that one actually true? Well, I would argue that actually it's not true at all. In fact, it's quite harmful to think like that. I mean, for example, if we said that cash is king, well, yeah, okay, what if you've got a lot of cash coming into your business, but you're running at a loss and you've got no profitability? So you might have loads of cash coming in, but you owe out more than what you're receiving because your profit margins are low. Well, cash isn't king in that instance, is it? Because you're going to go bust before you know it. And then some people say, well, yeah, you shouldn't really focus on turnover. But if you don't focus on turnover, how can you drive the profits you need in the business? You might have a really high profit margin that you're making, but if you haven't got high enough turnover, you're not going to be making enough profit. So I would actually argue that saying is probably nonsense. What we really need to be doing is focusing on all three of those numbers. In fact, it's not just three numbers you want to be focusing on. There are five key numbers, five key metrics in business that you need to be focusing on every single month. And I guarantee that if you focus on these five, I call them the big five, if you focus on these five only and just diligently every single month, make sure you try and hit those five numbers, you will make the profits that you want at the end of the year. So let's just quickly dive into what those five are and how you can track them in your business. So I've just got a quick spreadsheet here. This is just an example profit and loss report. So you'll notice the five key numbers are highlighted. So let me just explain these. So the first number that you want to focus on at the top there that's highlighted is the sales won. So this is actual confirmed sales orders that you've got in the pipeline where someone signed a contract and they're ready to start with you. So that's sales orders won in that month. Now you'll notice that the sales order won number must be higher than your turnover target. How much you're actually invoicing, how much revenue you're invoicing each month. It's got to be higher because clearly if the sales won number's lower, then you're going to run out of work. You're going to run through your work and before you know it, you run short. So I generally say that what you want to try and aim for with sales won is go for a multiplier of at least 1.5. So if you need turnover of £50,000 a year, you probably want to go for about £75,000 of sales confirmed orders each month. That way, months down the road, you're going to be booked up for 3 to 6 months before you know it, and you're going to have a nice full pipeline full of work and not worry about running out of work quickly. So that's key metric number one is sales won. Key metric number two that you need to be following all the time diligently is your actual invoicing. Every single month you want to forecast how much am I going to invoice this month, and if you're not going to invoice enough, what do you need to do? You might need to bring on more work, bring on more bodies of people so that they can try and get through that work quick enough. But clearly your invoice targets need to be met every single month so that you can make the profit you need. So that's key metric number two is how much do you actually invoice. The third one you want to focus on is your gross profit margin percentage. So that's what was the percentage you made after paying out for labour and materials on each job. So your gross profit margin, it will vary between companies. Some might be down at 20%, some might be 30%. My clients generally, in domestic building might be around 30% or more. Some will be higher if you're, a window fitter and you're supplying windows, things like that. You might actually have a higher gross profit margin than that. So you diligently need to track that too, because if that figure changes by just 1% or so each month, that massively affects your bottom line. So that's key metric number three is your gross profit margin. Key metric number four, shown right at the bottom of your P&L, is your net profit percentage. So how much net profit did you make after paying out for everything? So after all your overheads have come out, what's your net profit margin looking like compared to your turnover? So that net profit margin percentage, you'll notice in my book, I quoted from Verne Harnish in the book Scale Up. And he said that net profit margin percentage for a healthy company needs to be somewhere between 12 and 15%. So again, it will vary for you, depending on what your company is. But let's imagine you're aiming for 12% every single month. Then you need to track that diligently. Because if your gross profit margin's bang on and your turnover's bang on, but your net profit margin's too low, then it means your overheads are creeping up and there's a problem. Somehow you're spending too high with your overheads. Maybe you've got swanky new offices or you've bought an extra van or whatever it is. But if those overheads are increasing too quickly, you're not going to make the right net profit margin. So that's key metric number 4 your net profit. And the last key metric, number 5, that you need to be targeting is your retained profit. So after paying everything out, what is left in the business at the end of every month? And you'll notice that retained profit just builds upon each other month on month. So month 1, we've got here £6,000, month 2 it's 12, and that will just go up and up and up. So that way you can predict exactly what you're going to be left with in the business at the end of the year. So they're the big 5. The big 5 numbers that you need to be tracking. There's a lot to track in business and it can get quite confusing, but I guarantee you, if you just track those 5 things, you would guarantee the profits at the end of the year if you can stick to those figures, and you're going to be much closer to getting it if you can do that. There's a famous saying, whatever gets measured gets managed, and I'm a big believer in that. You've got to measure these things, and then if you measure them, you'll manage them and make sure you hit those targets. So once we've set those targets, what we want to then do, just quickly show you the download that I've given you. You want to come in here and start filling out your monthly KPIs, and you need to track these diligently, religiously every single month. So you would just come here and you would write, right, my turnover target for this month was £50,000. I said my sales was going to be £75,000. I want a gross profit percentage of 30%, or whatever it is for you, and I want to aim for a net profit percentage of 12%. And then if you, and as we said, there actually is one more to add down here, your retained profit, and you could fill that figure out every single month. What is that amount? You'll notice on this worksheet we've also got some personal ones that you might want to track as well, a KPI that you might want to track. But it's really important for you as the business owner to track these KPIs. Now what I would be doing then is, once you've got those KPIs, how do you stay on track? How do you make sure that happens? Well, part of the worksheet is we move over onto what your KPIs are. So as we said here, let's just do turnover. What needs to happen for your turnover to get to £50,000 a month? Well, you might say, right, this month I must finish 123 Smith Street. And then you think, right, if I hit that, if I finish 123 Smith Street, I'm going to hit that £50,000 target. You might say, right, I need to generate extras of £5,000, and that might be the way you get to your turnover target. Whatever it is for you, do the same for the sales. Do the same for how you get your gross profit percentage. So gross profit, you might look down here. How do you increase your gross profit percentage? Well, I need to negotiate terms with Travis Perkins, or whoever it is you're using. How do I get my net profit percentage down? How do I get that number up? Well, clearly I need to get rid of my rental yard if you don't need it anymore, or sell the old van. You know, it could be anything. I don't know what it is for you, but you'll know what it is you need to be doing. So my suggestion for you would be every month, as the director of your business, sit down with your management team, or just do this yourself if you're the sort of sole director and you haven't got any project managers. And I would look at your profit and loss report, track those big five numbers. I would then transfer that onto this sheet. Make sure you write your KPIs down, put them on the wall and track them religiously, and then make sure you break it down even further and say, what needs to happen for me to hit those KPIs? If you do that, if you track those big 5, you will make more profit in your business and you'll be really healthy financially. If you need assistance in measuring what your KPIs are, sometimes we can track these KPIs, and it's a bit of a lonely business because we don't know what KPIs we should be setting for ourselves, and then is there anyone to hold us accountable? Well, if you'd like to talk about how we can track and plan your business goals for 2022, then make sure you click on the next page, pick a diary time that suits you, and I'd love to have a chat about how we can scale your business successfully this year.